Khurshid Kamal Aziz, commonly known as KK Aziz, was a distinguished Pakistani historian and scholar renowned for his incisive analysis of South Asian history, particularly Pakistan's history and its colonial past. He was born in 1927 in British India, and later became a prominent figure in the academic sphere. Aziz's works often challenged conventional historical narratives, seeking to shed light on lesser-known aspects of South Asian history, thus contributing significantly to the historiography of the region. One of his seminal works, The Murder of History, emerged amidst a backdrop of intense debates and discussions regarding historiography in Pakistan. Published in 1993, this book stands as a scathing critique of what Aziz perceived as the distortion and manipulation of historical facts within Pakistan's educational curriculum and national discourse. Aziz vehemently opposed the prevalent historical narrative that he believed was perpetuated by state institutions, arguing that it presented a biased and distorted version of events, particularly concerning Pakistan's creation and early history. Aziz's critique centered on the alleged glorification and distortion of historical events to fit a specific ideological and nationalistic agenda. He contended that this approach compromised the objectivity and accuracy of historical records, influencing generations by presenting a skewed version of the past. Aziz advocated for a more objective and critical approach to history, emphasizing the importance of presenting facts accurately, even if they contradicted prevailing nationalistic narratives. His work stirred significant controversy within Pakistan, sparking debates about the role of history in shaping national identity and the responsibility of historians in presenting an unbiased account of the past. Aziz's contributions to historiography challenged established historical narratives, urging for a more critical and objective interpretation of history to provide a clearer understanding of the complexity surrounding the creation and development of Pakistan as a nation-state. In The Murder of History, KK Aziz sets out to critique the distortion and manipulation of historical facts within Pakistan's educational curriculum and national discourse. His primary purpose is to challenge the prevalent historical narrative endorsed by state institutions, arguing that it presents a biased and distorted version of events, particularly concerning Pakistan's creation and early history. Aziz contends that this distorted portrayal glorifies certain aspects of history while omitting or misrepresenting others, thereby promoting a skewed nationalistic agenda. The thesis of The Murder of History revolves around Aziz's assertion that the prevailing historical narrative in Pakistan is crafted to serve specific ideological and political interests, rather than providing an objective and accurate representation of the past. He argues that this approach to history leads to a manipulation of facts, the glorification of certain historical figures, and the downplaying or outright dismissal of inconvenient truths. Aziz emphasizes the damaging impact of such historical distortion on educational curricula and national consciousness, shaping a collective memory that deviates from factual accuracy. Central to Aziz's thesis is the call for a more critical and objective approach to historiography. He advocates for a scholarly inquiry that prioritizes factual accuracy over nationalistic narratives, urging historians and educators to present a more nuanced and truthful account of history, even if it challenges established beliefs or contradicts prevailing ideological agendas. Aziz's overarching aim is to prompt a reassessment of how history is taught and perceived in Pakistan, emphasizing the importance of preserving the integrity of historical records and narratives for a more comprehensive understanding of the nation's past. Historical narratives often undergo distortion or manipulation for various ideological, political, or socio-cultural reasons, impacting the interpretation and presentation of past events. Several mechanisms contribute to this distortion. Selective emphasis. Historians or institutions might emphasize certain events or figures while downplaying or omitting others to fit a specific narrative. This selectivity reinforces a particular viewpoint, shaping perceptions of historical significance. Omission and exaggeration. Deliberate omission of facts or exaggeration of certain events skews the portrayal of history. Ignoring inconvenient truths or inflating the significance of specific incidents aligns with particular agendas. Propaganda and nationalism. Governments or groups often manipulate history to foster national pride or bolster political agendas. Historical figures or events might be glorified or demonized to create a nationalistic narrative that serves contemporary political interests. Cultural hegemony. Dominant cultures or ruling classes often shape historical narratives to maintain power structures. This can involve the erasure or marginalization of the contributions and perspectives of marginalized groups or minorities. Educational curriculum. Historical distortions can infiltrate educational materials, influencing generations by promoting a biased interpretation of the past. Curricular biases or omissions can perpetuate skewed historical narratives. In the context of KK. Aziz, The Murder of History He critiques the distortion of historical facts within Pakistan's educational curriculum and national discourse. Aziz highlights how the crafting of a particular historical narrative, glorifying certain aspects while omitting or misrepresenting others, serves ideological and political interests. This manipulation of historical facts influences the collective memory and shapes national consciousness, contributing to a biased understanding of the nation's past. The distortion or manipulation of historical narratives, as exemplified in Aziz's work, underscores the significance of critically analyzing historical sources and challenging prevailing interpretations. It emphasizes the crucial role of historians and educators in presenting a more accurate and comprehensive understanding of history, free from ideological or political biases, to foster a more informed and nuanced understanding of the past. There are instances where historical narratives have been subject to bias, fabrication, or suppression. Partition narratives. The narratives surrounding the partition of British India into India and Pakistan often emphasize different perspectives, sometimes with biases. Each nation's historical accounts may portray the events leading to partition in a manner that aligns with their nationalistic narratives, glorifying their role while downplaying the complexities or contributions of others. Role of founding figures. Historical narratives in Pakistan might idealize or selectively portray the contributions of founding figures, such as Muhammad Ali Jinnah, to fit a particular nationalistic agenda. This can involve downplaying controversies or complexities in their actions. Educational curriculum. The portrayal of historical events in Pakistani educational materials might emphasize certain aspects of history while omitting or presenting others inaccurately. This selective approach can lead to a biased understanding of the nation's past among younger generations. Selective focus on conflicts. Some historical narratives in Pakistan may emphasize conflicts or events that align with particular ideologies, while sidelining or suppressing aspects that challenge prevailing nationalistic or political narratives. Erasure of marginalized voices. The experiences and contributions of marginalized communities, ethnic groups, or minorities within Pakistan's history might be marginalized or omitted from mainstream historical narratives, impacting a comprehensive understanding of the nation's past. These examples illustrate how historical narratives in Pakistani history, like in many other contexts, can be subject to biases, fabrications, or suppressions. Such manipulations contribute to a skewed understanding of history, impacting societal perceptions and shaping national identity. Aziz's critique in The Murder of History addresses some of these distortions and calls for a more objective and inclusive approach to understanding Pakistan's historical past. Here are a few case studies illustrating how history has been manipulated or misrepresented to fit specific narratives or agendas. Communal riots during partition. The narratives surrounding the partition of British India into India and Pakistan often paint a simplified version of events, emphasizing the heroic struggle of each nation while downplaying or omitting the complexities and atrocities of the period. The stories often highlight sacrifices made by one community while suppressing instances of violence and atrocities committed against other communities during the communal riots. Selective portrayal of leaders. Founding figures like Muhammad Ali Jinnah in Pakistan or Mahatma Gandhi in India have been selectively portrayed to align with nationalistic narratives. These representations tend to gloss over controversies or complexities in their characters and actions, presenting them as unblemished heroes rather than multifaceted individuals. Textbook biases. Educational curricula often reflect biases or distortions in historical narratives. For instance, textbooks in Pakistan and India might focus on different aspects of historical events like wars or conflicts, emphasizing their nation's victories while overlooking or downplaying the other side's perspectives or contributions. Omission of marginalized voices. Many historical narratives ignore or downplay the experiences and contributions of marginalized communities. This omission results in a skewed understanding of history, marginalizing the roles and struggles of minority groups, ethnicities, or regions. Colonial histories. The portrayal of colonial rule often differs based on the perspective. Some historical narratives in former colonies may highlight the exploitative nature of colonization, emphasizing resistance and struggles for independence, while colonial-era narratives often depicted the colonizers as civilizers and benevolent rulers. These case studies highlight how historical narratives can be manipulated or misrepresented to serve particular agendas, often resulting in an incomplete or biased understanding of historical events. Such manipulations impact societal perceptions, shaping national identities, and reinforcing specific historical interpretations. They underline the necessity of critically analyzing historical sources and promoting a more inclusive and objective approach to understanding the complexities of the past. Political interference and censorship can significantly impact historical writing and research in Pakistan, shaping the portrayal of the nation's past and influencing public perceptions. Here's how. Selective narratives. Political interests can dictate the version of history presented to the public. Government bodies may exert influence to promote a particular narrative that aligns with their ideologies or serves their interests. This selective presentation often highlights specific historical events, figures, or movements while suppressing or downplaying others, creating a biased and incomplete understanding of Pakistan's history. Suppression of dissenting voices. Political interference can lead to the suppression of dissenting perspectives within historical research. Historians or researchers advocating for alternative viewpoints or challenging prevailing narratives might face censorship, restrictions, or even persecution. This stifling of diverse opinions limits the exploration of multifaceted historical truths. Textbook revisionism. Political agendas can influence the content of educational textbooks, shaping the historical narratives taught in schools. This manipulation may involve sanitizing or distorting historical events to align with the ruling party's ideology or nationalist sentiments, thereby influencing the perceptions of younger generations. Erasure of controversial aspects. Sensitive or controversial topics in Pakistan's history, such as issues related to the military, religious tensions, or ethnic conflicts, might be deliberately omitted or downplayed in official historical accounts to avoid stirring political unrest or challenging the status quo. Impact on academic freedom. Political interference can curtail academic freedom, limiting historians' ability to conduct impartial research or present objective analyses. Fear of repercussions or censorship might compel scholars to self-censor their work, compromising the integrity and objectivity of historical research. In Pakistan, as in many countries, political interference and censorship can distort historical narratives, suppressing diverse viewpoints, and impeding the pursuit of a more comprehensive and truthful understanding of the nation's past. These influences highlight the importance of safeguarding academic freedom, promoting diverse historical perspectives, and fostering an environment conducive to objective historical research and writing. State control or intervention in historical discourse can yield various consequences, influencing the narrative, understanding, and public perception of history. Shaping national identity. State-controlled historical discourse often aligns with the ruling government's ideology, aiming to shape a cohesive national identity. This can result in the glorification of certain historical figures or events that serve the state's narrative, fostering a sense of unity but potentially excluding diverse perspectives or marginalized voices. Manipulation of historical narratives. State intervention can lead to the manipulation or distortion of historical facts to suit political agendas. This manipulation might involve erasing inconvenient truths, downplaying controversial aspects, or exaggerating certain events, resulting in a biased and sanitized version of history. Censorship and suppression. State control can lead to censorship or suppression of dissenting historical viewpoints. Historians, scholars, or educators advocating alternative narratives or challenging the official historical discourse might face restrictions, leading to self-censorship or limited academic freedom. Impact on education. State-controlled historical discourse often influences educational curricula. The portrayal of history in textbooks and educational materials may reflect the state's preferred narrative, shaping the understanding of history among younger generations and limiting critical thinking. Limiting historical inquiry. State intervention can hinder impartial historical research. Historians may be discouraged from exploring sensitive topics or conducting objective analyses due to political pressures, potentially hindering the pursuit of a comprehensive understanding of the past. Creation of historical myths. State-controlled historical discourse can contribute to the creation of historical myths or legends that reinforce a particular nationalistic or political narrative. This can perpetuate misconceptions and hinder a nuanced understanding of complex historical events. In the context of Pakistan, state control or intervention in historical discourse has led to the promotion of certain narratives while suppressing alternative viewpoints. This has impacted public understanding, educational curricula, and scholarly research, shaping the collective memory and national identity. Such control can limit critical inquiry and diversity of perspectives, potentially hindering the development of a comprehensive and objective understanding of Pakistan's history. Historians and scholars encounter numerous challenges in presenting unbiased historical narratives, especially in contexts where political, social, or cultural factors heavily influence historical discourse. Some of these challenges include access to sources. Historians often face challenges in accessing comprehensive and authentic historical sources. Limited access to archives, censorship of documents, or deliberate destruction of records can impede researchers' ability to construct accurate narratives. Political interference. State or political interference can hinder the pursuit of objective historical research. Pressure from governments or authorities to conform to certain narratives may restrict scholars from presenting alternative viewpoints or exploring sensitive topics. Bias in interpretation. Historians may grapple with personal biases or preconceived notions that influence their interpretation of historical events. These biases, whether conscious or unconscious, can inadvertently affect the objectivity of their analysis. Historical omissions. Selective emphasis or omissions in historical records and narratives can lead to incomplete or biased representations of the past. Certain events, perspectives, or marginalized voices may be overlooked or marginalized, distorting the overall understanding of history. Lack of diverse perspectives. Historians might face challenges in incorporating diverse perspectives, especially those of marginalized communities or underrepresented groups, into mainstream historical narratives. This lack of inclusivity can lead to an incomplete and skewed understanding of history. Pressure from interest groups. Historians may encounter pressure from interest groups or stakeholders who seek to promote specific historical narratives aligned with their agendas. This pressure can influence the direction of research and publication of historical findings. Ethical considerations. Ethical dilemmas might arise when presenting sensitive historical events that involve issues of trauma, violence, or conflicting interpretations. Balancing the ethical responsibilities of accurate representation with the potential impact on affected communities poses a significant challenge. Navigating these challenges requires a commitment to rigorous research methodologies, critical analysis, and a dedication to presenting a balanced and comprehensive view of history. It also necessitates fostering an environment conducive to academic freedom, enabling historians and scholars to explore diverse perspectives without fear of censorship or reprisal. Several factors inhibit academic freedom and hinder the pursuit of truth in historical research. Political interference. State authorities or political entities often exert control over historical narratives to align with their agendas. This interference can lead to censorship, restrictions, or manipulation of historical findings, limiting historians' ability to explore controversial or dissenting viewpoints. Institutional constraints. Academic institutions might impose limitations on scholars, influencing the scope or direction of their research. Pressure to conform to institutional narratives or avoid controversial topics can hinder the pursuit of truth in historical inquiry. Access to archives and information. Restrictions on access to archives or historical documents can impede researchers' ability to conduct comprehensive studies. Censorship, limited availability, or deliberate withholding of information can restrict the thorough examination of historical sources. Threats to scholarly integrity. Historians may face threats to their scholarly integrity, including intimidation, harassment, or repercussions for presenting findings that challenge established narratives or powerful interests. This pressure can deter researchers from pursuing certain lines of inquiry. Ethnic, political, or religious sensitivities. Sensitive historical topics related to ethnicity, politics, or religion may face resistance due to societal or cultural sensitivities. Scholars might avoid such topics to circumvent controversy, sacrificing the pursuit of truth for societal harmony. Historical revisionism. Revisionist movements or efforts to rewrite history for political or ideological reasons can distort the truth. This revisionism often involves cherry-picking facts or presenting biased interpretations, compromising the pursuit of objective truth. Financial and resource constraints. Insufficient funding, lack of resources, or limited support for historical research can impede scholars' ability to conduct thorough investigations, limiting their capacity to uncover diverse perspectives or challenge established narratives. Public perception and national identity. Nationalistic sentiments or public perceptions of historical figures, events can hinder critical inquiry. Challenging revered historical figures or events might provoke backlash, impacting scholars' freedom to explore alternative viewpoints. Addressing these challenges requires safeguarding academic freedom, advocating for open access to information, fostering critical thinking, and promoting a culture that encourages diverse perspectives in historical research. Protecting scholars from external pressures and ensuring their independence is crucial to advancing the pursuit of truth in historical studies. Distorted or manipulated historical narratives can have profound repercussions on society, culture, and national identity. Impact on national identity. Historical distortions can shape a nation's collective memory and identity. Glorification or suppression of certain historical events, figures, or narratives influences how a nation perceives its past, contributing to the formation of a national identity. False or biased historical accounts may create a distorted sense of national pride or shame, impacting citizens' perceptions of their country's history and identity. Social cohesion and division. Distorted history can perpetuate societal divisions by reinforcing biased narratives that favor specific groups or ideologies. Manipulated historical narratives might marginalize certain communities, leading to social discord, resentment, or conflicts based on misrepresented historical grievances, cultural heritage, and memory. False or manipulated historical narratives can distort a society's cultural heritage and collective memory. This distortion may affect how cultural traditions, customs, and values are perceived, leading to a skewed understanding of a community's roots and historical evolution. Education and critical thinking. Inaccurate historical narratives taught in educational curricula can impact critical thinking among younger generations. Misleading historical accounts limit students' ability to analyze events critically and form an objective understanding of the past, hindering their capacity for informed decision-making. Policy-making and governance. Historical distortions may influence policy-making and governance. Political leaders or policymakers often use historical narratives to legitimize their decisions or support particular agendas, impacting national policies, international relations, and diplomatic engagements. Loss of trust and integrity. Distorted history erodes trust in academic institutions, historical scholarship, and the veracity of information. When historical facts are manipulated for political or ideological purposes, it undermines the integrity of historical research and scholarly discourse, leading to a loss of trust in the accuracy of historical accounts. Addressing distorted history requires a commitment to promoting historical accuracy, ensuring academic freedom, and fostering critical thinking skills. Emphasizing the importance of unbiased historical narratives in education, public discourse, and policy making is vital to building a more informed and cohesive society, preserving cultural heritage, and fostering a more inclusive national identity. Distorted history significantly influences perceptions, politics, and public discourse in Pakistan, shaping national identity and societal attitudes in various ways. Nationalistic sentiments. Distorted historical narratives often evoke strong nationalistic sentiments, promoting a particular version of history that glorifies specific events, figures, or movements while downplaying or omitting others. This can foster a sense of pride or victimhood among citizens, impacting their perceptions of the nation's past, and contributing to a collective identity centered around these narratives. Political agendas. Historical distortions are often employed by political entities to serve their agendas. Politicians may use selective historical narratives to legitimize policies, gain public support, or delegitimize opposition, thereby influencing public perceptions and shaping political discourse. Ethnic and religious dynamics. Distorted history can exacerbate ethnic and religious tensions. Manipulated historical accounts might favor one ethnic or religious group while marginalizing others, leading to societal divisions, grievances, or conflicts rooted in misrepresented historical narratives. Education and public opinion. Educational curricula often reflect distorted historical narratives, influencing the understanding of history among younger generations. This impacts public opinion, perpetuating biased perspectives and limiting critical thinking regarding historical events, figures, and socio-political dynamics. International relations. Distorted historical narratives can impact international relations and diplomacy. Disputes or conflicts based on historical interpretations may strain relationships with neighboring countries or impact foreign policies, influencing geopolitical dynamics in the region. Public discourse and media. Historical distortions are often perpetuated through media channels and public discourse. Biased historical narratives propagated through media platforms contribute to shaping societal attitudes, reinforcing certain beliefs, and sidelining alternative viewpoints. Perpetuation of stereotypes. Distorted history may reinforce stereotypes and misconceptions about certain communities, cultures, or regions. This perpetuation of biased narratives affects inter-community relations and contributes to societal prejudices. Addressing historical distortions in Pakistan requires a concerted effort to promote unbiased historical research, ensure academic freedom, and encourage diverse perspectives in educational curricula. And Aziz made significant contributions in challenging historical distortions in Pakistan through his seminal work, The Murder of History. His arguments and contributions can be summarized and evaluated as follows. Identification of distortions. Aziz meticulously identified and highlighted distortions prevalent in Pakistani historical narratives. He scrutinized how political, ideological, and institutional influences shaped historical accounts, leading to biased portrayals and omissions of crucial events, figures, and perspectives. Critique of nationalistic narratives. Aziz critically analyzed the nationalistic narratives perpetuated in historical discourse. He questioned the glorification of certain figures or events while exposing the deliberate suppression of dissenting or contradictory narratives, challenging the one-sided representation of history. Advocacy for academic freedom. Aziz advocated for academic freedom and the autonomy of historical research. He emphasized the importance of scholars' independence in exploring diverse perspectives, and conducting unbiased historical inquiries, free from political or institutional pressures. Promotion of pluralistic narratives. His work emphasized the need for a more inclusive and pluralistic approach to historical narratives. Aziz advocated for the inclusion of marginalized voices, diverse viewpoints, and neglected aspects of history to present a more comprehensive and accurate understanding of Pakistan's past. Repercussions of distorted history. Aziz highlighted the profound repercussions of distorted history on Pakistani society, politics, and national identity. He underscored how manipulated historical narratives perpetuated societal divisions, hindered critical thinking, and impacted public perceptions, influencing policymaking and public discourse. Call for objective historical inquiry. Through his work, Aziz called for objective historical inquiry, urging scholars to uphold scholarly integrity and pursue truth-seeking endeavors. He emphasized the importance of accurate, evidence-based historical accounts in fostering a more informed and cohesive society. Overall, Aziz's contributions in The Murder of History serve as a catalyst in challenging distorted historical narratives in Pakistan. His meticulous analysis and advocacy for a more inclusive, objective, and pluralistic approach to history continue to inspire scholars, educators, and policymakers in their pursuit of a more accurate understanding of Pakistan's past. Aziz's work, particularly The Murder of History, holds significant importance in the realm of historical scholarship in Pakistan and beyond. Challenge to historical distortions. Aziz's critical analysis of distorted historical narratives serves as a landmark contribution in challenging prevailing biases and misrepresentations. By exposing these distortions, he paved the way for a more critical examination of Pakistan's history, encouraging scholars to question established narratives. Advocacy for academic freedom. His emphasis on academic freedom and the autonomy of historical research remains highly influential. Aziz's advocacy inspired scholars to strive for independence in their research pursuits, fostering a more objective and diverse approach to historical inquiry. Legacy of pluralistic perspectives. Aziz's call for more inclusive and pluralistic narratives in historical discourse left a lasting impact. His work prompted a reevaluation of neglected voices, marginalized communities, and overlooked events in Pakistan's history, contributing to a more comprehensive understanding of the nation's past. Impact on educational curricula. His critiques of biased historical narratives prompted discussions about the content of educational curricula. Aziz's work challenged the one-sided representations in textbooks, influencing debates about the importance of presenting a more balanced and factual account of history in schools. Inspiration for future scholars. Aziz's meticulous research, critical analysis, and commitment to truth-seeking continue to inspire future generations of historians and scholars. His work serves as a benchmark for aspiring researchers, encouraging them to uphold scholarly integrity and pursue unbiased historical inquiries. Reflection on national identity. His examination of distorted history prompted reflections on Pakistan's national identity. Aziz's work encouraged a re-evaluation of how historical narratives shape national consciousness and identity, highlighting the complexities and nuances of the country's past. In summary, Aziz's work significantly impacted historical scholarship in Pakistan by challenging distorted narratives, advocating for academic freedom, promoting pluralistic perspectives, and inspiring a more critical and objective approach to understanding the nation's history. His contributions continue to influence scholarly discourse and research methodologies, fostering a more nuanced understanding of Pakistan's past. In The Murder of History, Aziz meticulously dissects the prevalent distortions within Pakistan's historical narratives. He meticulously dissects how political, ideological, and institutional influences have orchestrated biased representations of the past. Aziz boldly challenges the nationalistic fervor that selectively glorifies certain historical figures or events while deliberately suppressing dissenting viewpoints. His impassioned advocacy for academic freedom resounds throughout the book, urging historians to maintain autonomy in research and advocating for a more objective, evidence-driven approach to historical inquiry. Aziz champions a pluralistic perspective, stressing the necessity of embracing marginalized voices and diverse viewpoints to offer a more comprehensive understanding of Pakistan's history. He elucidates the grave repercussions of distorted history, showcasing how these narratives perpetuate societal divisions, stifle critical thinking, and shape public perceptions. Through his work, Aziz unequivocally calls for a recommitment to objective historical inquiry, emphasizing the imperative of accurate, evidence-based historical accounts in fostering a more informed and cohesive society. Preserving historical accuracy is paramount as it forms the bedrock of a society's understanding of its past, shaping its present identity and future trajectory. Distorted historical narratives not only obfuscate the truth, but also sow seeds of misunderstanding, division, and conflict within societies. They misguide public perceptions, influencing policies and societal attitudes. The dangers of distorted narratives extend beyond mere misrepresentation. They erode trust in institutions, hinder critical thinking, and impede reconciliation. Embracing historical accuracy allows for a more informed discourse, fostering empathy, understanding, and unity. It enables societies to confront their past, acknowledge complexities, and move forward constructively. By upholding truth in historical narratives, we not only honor the legacies of those who came before us, but also pave the way for a more enlightened, inclusive, and harmonious future.